When I'm underwater, I see things that most people will never have a chance to. It's cold. It's sometimes dark and murky. We have waves, we have kelp. There are a lot of reasons to not want to go scuba diving. Oh, but the reasons to go are spectacular. The color, the diversity of life, the strange forms of things that you never see on land. So shortly after I learned to dive, I began taking a camera underwater and capturing pictures of these amazing vistas. I show those pictures to people who might never leave the land, might never get their eyeballs under the surface of the water, to say, in effect, look at what we have, look at what's here. I created ultimately 4 books, 3 of them glossy coffee table books in a series called Wonders of the Sea. And each of the volumes of the Wonders of the Sea covers a different part of the California coast, describing and illustrating photographically what lives on the beach and especially beneath the surface of the ocean. And the 4th book, called Yesterday's Ocean, which is a look backward into the past of how human activities have wrought ecological changes in Central California, where I live. For millennia, Central California has had forests of a plant called giant kelp. They're sort of like swimming through a redwood forest, except in the ocean. And it's all flexible and undulating with the swell. Within these kelp forests live somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 different species of marine life, making it the most diverse ecosystem we have anywhere in California. It also produces a great deal of the oxygen that we breathe and sequesters carbon. So kelp forests are tremendously important, and it's hard to verbally convey the experience of swimming through kelp forest, rubbing shoulders with fish, passing by crabs and snails, an astounding array of species and colors. I joined an effort to have a marine protected area, in essence an ocean park, at Cannery Row in Monterey. That effort was ultimately unsuccessful, but it was immediately followed by something that was much more successful than we had ever dreamed. And that was a law called the Marine Life Protection Act that mandated the creation of a whole string of marine protected areas from the Oregon border all the way down to the Mexico border. So California would become the first state in the United States to have a biologically connected array of marine protected areas where fish and other life could grow. Around the time that I was working in the group that established the marine protected areas in Central California, we were aware of 3 primary threats to marine life. One was water quality, pollution, dumping, for example, chemicals or in some cases inadequately treated sewage into the ocean. It's still an ongoing issue. The second one is climate change, and that has accelerated to become probably the biggest and most worrisome threat to our oceans. And the third one was unsustainable fishing, and that's where the marine protected areas came into play. We said, not here. This will be a fish refuge, a fish nursery, and a place where fish can reproduce and grow. And we have data that shows that that works. So the marine protected areas are a very good thing. Then in 2013, a 4th factor appeared that nobody anticipated. A virus that killed almost every sea star that we have. And then we realized that one of those stars, called the sunflower sea star, great big, if you imagine, a predatory sea star that was, because of its predatory activity, keeping the populations of many other animals in check. One of the animals that it kept in check is sea urchins. And sea urchins love to eat kelp. But with that great big predatory sunflower sea star in the ocean, sea urchins didn't dare emerge from cracks or crevices, some of them probably buried under the sand, for fear of getting eaten by a sunflower star. So they had to be very patient and wait for some kelp to drift near them before they would dare emerge to consume it. In the absence of the sunflower sea star, The sea urchins changed their behavior. They came out to forage out in the open, and rather than consuming broken off drift kelp, they went after live kelp. What had been a kelp forest is now denuded of the kelp that created the forest that gave a place to live to those 1,000 to 1,500 species in the ocean. And what's left is essentially a marine desert dominated by hundreds of thousands of sea urchins and very little else. It's a completely depleted ecosystem. We call this an urchin barren. So one naturally asks, well, what are we going to do about this? What's happening? Isn't the government taking action? The state has an effort underway to develop a coherent plan to address the restoration of kelp. There is a community working group of which I am a part. You could send me an email expressing your opinion, which I will convey to the relevant authority. There are some people working on restoring the sunflower star and trying to resume the ecological balance that existed before the 2013 sea star wasting. One of those is called the Sunflower Star Lab.
Reintroducing the stars to the wild here in California has been one of our stated goals since the beginning in December 2021. So step one is to get that permit, coordinate amongst institutions, coordinate amongst people who can support diving efforts to put these animals in an enclosed environment in the ocean and have divers come to feed them. And that's really just to see, can they transition from their nice cozy laboratory setting back into the wild. And once those experiments are concluded, then we'll work on the next step of trial reintroduction in specific trial sites, and then hopefully that will lead to a full permit for the scaled reintroduction effort that we're hoping to ultimately be the vanguard of. We're very fortunate in that we were just able to onboard 2 laboratory staff, and that is allowing us to focus on research that's going to help us refine our protocols and our understanding of these animals, both how to scale the aquaculture. It also is going to allow us to do research on some of the behavioral ecology, some of the biology that will help potentially inform what happens once the animals are able to go back into the wild and just generally advance the science. When we started out in the garage, sort of thought we would just be doing science and mass producing sea stars. And that hasn't really been what we've ultimately ended up doing. We've happened to get this great location where there's a lot of foot traffic of people who are interested in the Western Flyer, who are interested in eco-tours on beautiful Elkhorn Slough, and we've been able to interact substantially with the public in terms of outreach. And so another goal for us is to bring more of the community in to this community-based project, because we've seen the value that generates. People not just feeling like all stories about climate change or about the marine environment are about how everything is dying and there's no hope, that we want the community to come and participate in something hopeful, something where we had an audacious idea and it's working. And everyone in our community should get to participate in that.